What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the BamaInsider YouTube channel. This is our post-game show, and we're doing it live. And if you just saw, Alabama won the game, right? We got a lot to talk about on this show. He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillespie. But before we get into any of that, guys, I need you to do me a big favor, and I need you to hit the bell. I need you to subscribe. I need you to give the thumbs up, because we are going to sit here, and we're going to break it down. We'll hear from Coach Nick Saban, all of that coming up here on the post-game show, the BamaInsider post-game show. 31-29. This game turned into a classic. And who would have thought it? Alabama was up big, Kyle. It was 21-3. You're wondering, hey, the Alabama's never going to lose. They're going to win every single game. And then Florida really just, for a stretch in that game, whooped Alabama at the line of scrimmage. Alabama won the football game. These guys know how to win. They finished strong. But I got to give Florida a lot of credit. That was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're just joining us, definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Alabama survives in the swamp. And you're right. I think you definitely have to give Florida a lot of credit, especially considering that they came in. I think a lot of the attention was on the backup quarterback who didn't even play, right? The whole week we're talking about the backup quarterback and all this. And Emory Jones comes in. He wasn't perfect. I don't think, that he was, I personally don't think he's one of the best in the SEC, but he was 17 of 27, 181 yards, one interception. He also ran for 19 carries and 80 yards. So you kind of look at the stats. I think the stats tell a lot of the story. You see that Florida ran the football for 258 yards off 43 attempts. And it was kind of a combination of Malik Davis and Emory Jones and Damian Pierce. Those guys did a really good job. And I think that Dan Mullen, he's now played Nick Saban down to the wire 2 years consecutively. And, kind of curious to get everyone's thoughts on this team from an offensive standpoint. I want to see, what everyone thinks about the defense. Is this on Golding? Is this on the secondary? And kind of sound off in the comment box. And, of course, we'll have Nick Saban's press conference following the game.
Yeah, first off, you got to be glad that Alabama won the football game. And this is what college football is supposed to look like. You're not supposed to just, boat race everyone. And that's what Alabama's done on a consistent basis. They haven't had many close games. And I don't know. Kyle, I guess a couple of things. Both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, Alabama has a lot of work to do, I felt like. But look, Bryce Young with another really good game. He doesn't make mistakes. 3 more touchdowns, no interceptions. He had poise. It's a tough environment. I have a lot of respect for Florida, and I knew that they were going to bring it today. Wow, I just can't believe that this thing ended up like that. I felt like the offensive line at times was having trouble with the crowd noise. There were some unforced penalties, and and luckily for Alabama, they were able to do enough today to win, and they got off to the quick start. If they don't get off to the quick start, they don't win this football game.
Yeah, and here you are looking at the stats right here. I think Roll Tide asked, did we even rush for 100 yards? 91 yards to be exact. 21 attempts for 91 yards. Brian Robinson was 75 yards, and Jace McClellan was 17 yards. But, you look at the early season play of Bryce Young, and I think one of the things that really continues to stand out for me, and I know that Alabama probably struggled with the right tackle against Florida, but still 22 of 35, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns. There was a time or two that he could have thrown his first interception of the season, but he's playing at a very high level still, and I think this was good for this team to face some adversity. I'm curious to see how this team responds. Of course, we'll hear from Nick Saban in just a minute to get his thoughts. But you and I were talking before the show about kind of Saban's take after this game, kind of trying to figure out. And I gotta actually jet, Mick, so I'm going to go to this press conference. I'll be back.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about Nick Saban and kind of what we expected to hear from him. And I think Nick Saban is going to be all right. I think that he's going to say, hey, this is – we'll find out. And I'm looking forward to having Kyle come back and hearing from Coach Saban. But I'm guessing that Coach Saban is going to say, hey, this was a tough environment. This is a team that hasn't played on the road with this quarterback and this offensive line, and that they got pushed and they found a way to win. And that's true. Despite the fact that it was a close game, and Alabama didn't cover the spread, and they had some trouble, they did a lot of things right today. Brian Robinson was the best back that they had. He was 14 carries for 75 yards. He had a touchdown. It was kind of just, hey, go straight ahead, go straight ahead. Jace is so good, and McClellan, and I love watching him in the games. And I tell you what he was able to do today. Look, 9 carries and 17 yards. Now, that's not great in the average of 1.9, but I'll tell you what he was able to do was catch the ball out of the backfield. And I really, really enjoyed kind of watching him do that, and the way that he's able to catch the ball and then make things happen with his feet. So, I know a lot of you guys are kind of talking about the defense, and look, they missed Chris Allen, obviously. And you got to remember, like, even though the Alabama still had William Anderson in there, it wasn't the he's probably still banged up, I mean, but they did enough today to win. And I think that's kind of at the end of the day, it was a struggle. But look, I mean, you're going to have struggles. It's just how you deal with them. And, and when you're talking about dealing with struggles, the bottom line is they won the football game on the road in the swamp. Then you got to give them a lot of credit for that. So, before we all kind of say, hey, all the worry, everyone starts to worry, just remember that that's a big part of this as well. I'm going to kind of go through some of your comments here. And here's Jarvis. I totally agree with this, Jarvis. Alabama, lucky they built the big lead, and they could have put this game away early and give Florida credit because they didn't quit. And I thought that was, kind of something in this game that we weren't sure what was going to happen. This guy Keena says, hey, I'm glad we won, but it was a struggle win. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm expecting Nick Saban to come out and talk about in the post-game press conference. Like the fact that it was a struggle. I mean, Florida, you putting those numbers up there, Florida just ran right down Alabama's throat. And I don't think any of us were expecting that. Malik Davis, you can throw those numbers up there for me, Chris. Yeah, Malik Davis, look at that, 10 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Emory Jones, you put the passing with the running in there, and I think he had an incredibly good game, right? 17 for 27, 181 yards with an interception on a ball that really, he was smushed at the line of scrimmage, no touchdowns. But then you throw in there 19 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. This is a Dan Mullen offense. This is what gave Alabama trouble when he was at Mississippi State, So this is, this is what you look at and you go, okay, Naquan Wright, 7 carries, 58 yards. Damian Pierce got in there with 7 carries and 24 yards. And when you add it all up, 258 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground and 43 rushes. So it kind of gives Alabama right now a frame of reference moving forward, right? As they get ready for next week, Southern Miss, and then after that, Ole Miss. And then you think about that Ole Miss game, and all of a sudden that it starts to line up where you're going, hey, man, this could be a really incredible matchup of teams. And I don't think that Ole Miss's defense is going to be as good as Florida's. Florida's has some guys up front. We knew that. And they got after Alabama today. I'm going back to your comments here. And seeing what you guys, and look, as you hang out with us, man, hit the comments. AJ says roll tide. That's one of those like, whew, roll tide. I thought that on one of the last touchdown Florida scored, go back and watch that. There was a holding on that play. They turned the corner and the dude was just being like held. Now, I don't think that really makes this game one way or the other. Alabama got some good calls too. How many times do they not call a pass interference on 3rd down? So Alabama did a nice job of putting the Florida DBs in a spot where they needed to make a nice play. But let's go over the stats a little bit And let's compare the Alabama with Florida stats, and just kind of take a look at those as we're waiting on Nick Saban's press conference, and Kyle will jump back on here. But look, I think this one is Mocha is exactly right. Alabama showed a lot of resilience. Not many teams are going to be able to jump up there and respond like that. Here's Tommy saying that we didn't do a good job running the ball up the middle. No, the offensive line, it was mediocre today. It really was, and I'm sure that there are going to be some position battles going on in camp for Alabama as they get ready for their next game. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that's going to turn out, because there's a lot of competition that you can build there. But yeah, Chris, pull the game comparison up here so we can see that. Like just kind of pull that up. I want to look team to team here. And give me the offensive stats first over there. Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, look at this right here. You got net total yards. Alabama was outgained today, 439 to 324. And a lot of that was in the first half. I mean, like when Alabama was just cutting right down the field on Florida. The thing that's going to stick out to all of us is that Bama got 91, and we were just kind of hit on this a little bit. Florida with 248 yards on the ground. Alabama only had 27 attempts, and they were averaging 3.4 yards per play. I think Florida did a lot of things really well in this game, but they didn't win, and so it's like you look back at it and you go, hey, you got to win the game. And this was the game that I knew from the very beginning when the schedule came out was going to be tough for Alabama. This is Bryce Young's first game on the road. Even Mac didn't play a game like this last year because there weren't fans in the stadiums. And when the games that they were, there weren't a lot of them in there. This is a hostile environment, and these are tough games to go in and win. But where Alabama did really well today was throwing the football, and Bryce Young just continues to do that. The other thing that Alabama did well was score in the red zone. As a matter of fact, both teams were 4 for 4 in the red zone, and Alabama was 1 point better, 24-23. Right. And it came down to Florida having to go for 2 to tie the game, and they didn't get it. And that's why it's a 31-28 final, so it's just crazy kind of how things go down in a game like this. We know where it'll come down to, like one play, a 2-point conversion. But look, there's a lot of positives that Alabama can take from this. And I know Nick Saban's going to get in this press conference as he's going to point it out. First off, Bryce Young still has a lot of poise. And it seemed like the pocket was breaking down on him a lot. And he just was able to move around enough to make things happen. Right. The second thing is that when Florida came back, Alabama hung in there, and they didn't quit. And they didn't give up, and they found a way to get the win. That's the second thing. The third thing is that, although the defense didn't have a great day, they made the plays when they had to, right? They made the plays that they had to make. Brent, thank you for the super chat. And for all of you guys that are hanging out, like and subscribe. Brent, definitely need work, roll tide. Look, that is what the point of this game is. I'll tell you something right now that really worried me. And I also want to thank Mocha for the super chat as well. And all you guys that super chat, just know how much we appreciate that. The thing that was concerning to me the most about this football season was how easy it was to beat Miami. And I'm talking to you, Mocha, and I'm talking to all you guys that are watching right now. I worried about that because there's an arc to winning a championship. And you want to be playing your best football at the end of the season, not at the beginning. What did we find out? We found out that Miami stinks. They lost again today, and it wasn't even close. They lost to Michigan State. That's the thing that we all kind of just sat back and said, okay, well, Alabama just killed Miami. They were ranked high. No, Miami's just not a good football team. They're not a bad football team. They're a mediocre football team. Alabama struggled a little bit at times against Mercer. We weren't worried about it. There were some plays where guys are running down the middle. We weren't that worried about it. Going into Florida and beating this football team, this is a good football team. They're the best football team in the state of Florida. They're better than Miami. Florida State, I mean, what in tarnation, sounds like something that Bobby Bowden would say, is going on down in Tallahassee. They are getting killed by Wake Forest, and it's probably over by now. I'm talking to you guys, so I don't have the score pulled up. This Florida team's going to give Georgia some trouble probably. And to go in there and figure out a way to win this game when things started going south, I think this is a good one to grow on. Devin, thank you for the super chat. And we do have to learn how to play and finish, but we learned how to finish. We still got the win. And I think that's what, you kind of look back at and say, Alabama still got the win. And I'm telling you that this was a tough place to go on the road and play for the first time. I mean, Alabama, they make it look easy so many times with these games. But not a lot of teams would have won today. Not a lot of teams would have figured out a way to just hold on. And look, Charlie, I'm throwing this up here because you the end of that game was painful to watch because I'm going, hey, are we going to lose? Is this thing going to disappear? Remember that this offensive line is a lot different than last year's offensive line, and you guys saw that today. On the defensive side of the ball, this is how football's set up now. Even if you have a great defense, and I see that, people are kind of fired up about Pete Golding. Will says, got to get rid of Pete Golding. Look, football 2020, when you're decent, they call penalties and it's set up for the offense to do well. So I'm not looking at it going, you're just not going to have games like we had in 2011 where you lose 9-3 and then you win 21-0 against LSU. It's just not set up that way anymore. It's set up where if you don't get the pass rush back there, they're going to throw the ball all over you. And when Alabama got the pass rush, Jones went down, and when they didn't, Florida State was able to move the football and honestly find a way to get it. Florida State was 5 of 12 on third down conversions. So Alabama did some things okay on defense. So don't overlook that. But I'll tell you what, I was on the edge of my seat in that fourth quarter, kind of wondering how it would go. But how crazy was it, guys, that the clock just magically stopped working? I'm like, oh, of course, the clock's not going to work now. That was interesting. And despite that, Bryce was still poised and under pressure, was able to figure it out. So I'm going back to your comments again. I'm going to see what you guys are saying. And here's one from Mark. He says, I've been watching Bama play since Bear Bryant won a national championship in '79. I suffered through the Jeff Rutledge years, but this was a win, but not really. Okay, look, that was before my time, '79 and that championship, but we all know about the Bear Bryant days because when I was a student at Alabama, they hadn't won a championship since '92, and then we always went back to this era of football at Alabama where we won all the time, and it wasn't even as good as it is now. You're supposed to have some close games, and it's how you deal with those close games that's going to make you a better team down the road. If think about how you guys would feel right now had Alabama lost that football game. And what I'm curious about is where this team's going to be moving forward. Nick Saban always seems to do better when his team loses because he's able to get their attention, right? Well, what I'm wondering is this almost like a loss, even though you won, where on that flight back to Tuscaloosa and the way that they practice, not to say that this team hadn't bought in, but does it make it easier for him to convince them that they can lose? And sometimes you have to play with the fear, knowing that you can lose, not that you want to, but that you can lose to do your best, So, and the last thing I want to say is, you talk about the, Jeff Rutledge days and Bear Bryant. I was at school and Alabama lost to everybody all the time. They were like Tennessee. They were just, we won in 99. And then after that, it was terrible. So, and I know there's some of you that are out there that remember those days, the Dubose days, the Shula days, in between there, other guy, it was terrible. It wasn't like this where you would have a close game and you lost. But Big Buck, I'm gonna throw you up here next. We don't have a dominant DL. It's Will Anderson or bust. Look, man, I'll tell you what. Some other guys made some plays too at times today, but we got to get Will Anderson back to 100%, right? I mean, it just. Because not having Chris Allen to kind of to make that two-headed attack, it definitely gives the offensive lines the opportunity to kind of take a guy out. But I thought Sanders did some things today as far as affecting the passing game and making some big plays at the line of scrimmage. There were a lot of plays where Alabama was just held in tow by Florida's offensive line. And for them to be able to win, including that game against Ole Miss, they're going to have to really affect the QB. All right, guys, look, hey, Todd, thank you for the super chat. This team can win throwing the ball primarily, but they need to develop more of a deep passing game. Yes, I think so too. But I think that the running game is going to help open up the passing game. When we had Najee Harris at running back last year, there's a different gear that he has compared to Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's more of it. And I love the fact that Brian Robinson doesn't turn the ball over. He's really reliable. He'll break tackles, but he doesn't have that Najee where it's like, he turns 4 yards into 15. Brian turns 4 yards into 5 yards, and maybe that'll change as we move forward. But he still had a decent game today. Alabama's developing these different guys. McClellan today was effective as a pass catcher, but not as a running, as a running back. And we didn't see, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember seeing, throw the running backs up there again. I just want to make sure I don't remember seeing the other guys today. Yeah, so I'm right. So I don't remember. So we didn't see Williams and we didn't see Sanders today. So it was two guys predominantly in the rush game. Passing game wise, we dropped a touchdown. And, Slade Bolden had to hit him right in his hands. That was a big play in this game. He's they call him a possession receiver. Those are catches you got to make. You're wide open in the middle of the end zone. I'm sure he'll be, just kicking himself tonight, not having caught that ball. I think he's still a great player. But it was just a big play in the game. You want to catch that. The offside. No, it was the false start when they were at 4th and goal. That's a big play in the game. Backs them up. They got a kick instead of going for it there. A lot of unforced penalties because of the crowd noise. And so those are the things that I think Nick Saban will really, really push forward with this team moving forward. All right, here's one. Let's see here. Well, there's one. Oh, roll tide. And as you guys hang out, hit the column over there. Send us some messages. We are right now putting together the Nick Saban post game audio, so we'll have that for you here coming up shortly. I'm curious to see what Coach Saban is going to say after the game, but it was one of those games that when you look back at it at the end of the season, this could be the type of game that this team really rallies around and it builds character. And at the beginning of the season, if you told me with a freshman quarterback, an entirely different offensive line, right, besides Evan Neal, and then, basically a whole new stable of running backs besides Brian Robinson, that Alabama was going to destroy Miami and go on the road and beat Florida, I would say, hey, I'll take that. So, just remember, nothing's been lost right now. As you kind of move forward on that. Yeah. All right. Well, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break, and then here in just a second, I'll be back again. Hit the column, hit the comments here, and I'll find out here shortly how long it's going to be before we have the Nick Saban press conference up, because like everyone else here, I'm just kind of sitting here going, there's a lot to talk about. All right, look, Tobias, before I do this, I got to tell you, I agree. This was a great win. I think most of you guys, I feel like just reading your columns, your comments in the column, is that you feel like Alabama lost. They did not lose the football game. They won the game. Does anyone here, raise your hand, remember the year that they went to Arkansas and they won 14-13? And it was like a really decent Arkansas. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I want to say maybe he returned a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown. I don't think they scored on offense. And they won the football game, and it was because Arkansas missed an extra point, if I remember correctly. I mean, this is off the top of my head. And I think that team still won a national championship. So, you got to play the games that are on your schedule, and you got to figure out a way to win them. You don't have to cover the point spread every time. If you didn't bet on the game, you wouldn't even be worried about that. You'd be, I want to win by at least 1 point, right? Because you can't win any other way. Eric Corey says, "Do the receivers separate themselves from the corners?" I don't know. And this may be one of those things, Corey, that I go back and I'm just going to leave it up there. When I go back and rewatch this game before we all get together tomorrow night and do our Sunday night, call-in show, and I know a lot of you guys will be calling in for that. I'm curious to see, kind of how that looked. I mean, there were some drop balls in this game, for sure. And there were also some passes that were affected by Florida's pass rush. So, I mean, you got to remember that too. And I got to give Florida credit on that. So I don't know. I thought Williams made some good plays. Anytime he gets the ball, Jamison Williams he's a playmaker. He had 4 catches today, 61 yards. How good was it seeing Jaleel Billingsley back? And he had one ball thrown to him and he caught it for a touchdown. He did a little sideline, move to stay in bounds. That was one of the big plays in this game too. And so, I like that one. All right, I'm going to pull this one up. Elise's dad. No way we beat Georgia. No way. Oh, Georgia. Okay, I get it. Yeah, he's saying no way Georgia beats this Florida team. That could be true. I can't wait. That's a good one kind of moving forward. I can't wait to see what happens when those two teams get together. I mean, we'll see. Is Georgia that far ahead? I mean, I'm watching Clemson today struggle. They look awful. So maybe Clemson and Georgia aren't that good. I mean, we'll find out. It's kind of just what the SEC is all about, man. Is that you get these two teams together. But I'll tell you what, Florida's not going to roll over. I love the Florida fans that were wanting to get rid of Dan Mullen, and I heard a lot of that scuttlebutt after the offseason, and I mean, look, they got something with this guy. He's just got to do a little bit better recruiting, but the guy can coach, and he proved that today. Jarvis, back to my guy Jarvis here. He says, this was definitely a season-defining win. I'm saying the same thing for Alabama. I think you're talking about a tough place to play, and they won the football game. So I see Kyle's pop back on. I'm expecting him to jump on here with us soon. And also, there he is right there. What's up,
guys?
Kyle?
I was just actually telling Chris, we actually have Nick Saban's press conference. You can watch it in its entirety right here on our YouTube channel. It came in. It was you'll see it. I'm going to load it now. There was a green screen. It looks like Saban was coming to us from Mars. It's not the best feed, but the audio was good. So let me play Nick Saban. I still have to take care of a couple other things on the back end, including Bryce Young's press conference. I got to get that to YouTube. So let's play Nick Saban's press conference, and then I'll be right back. So let me upload that. And again, you can watch the full press conference in its entirety on our YouTube channel. But here's Nick Saban following Alabama's victory over Florida.
Our team, tough environment to play. Florida.
I know. Look at this. Trust me, it gets worse. Okay, so we weren't in charge of this. We were beaming Saban from I don't know, from another planet. But here's Saban's opening comments.
It was a really, really good team. They had a great plan offensively against us. Took us out of a lot of things that we wanted to do when they kept running the speed option all the time. But I think the big thing to learn from our players is, we continue to have to be able to maintain intensity throughout a game. When we got ahead 21-3, I think our players, we played, absolutely great football. And then we go 3 plays and out 3 times in a row on offense. Eventually they score a touchdown, get the crowd back into the game. And then it was difficult after that. It was really difficult after that. I think our players showed a lot of resiliency in the game. We made the plays that we had to make on offense. We stopped the 2-point conversion. We made the plays that we had to make on offense to, stay ahead in the game, as well as take the air out of it at the end of the game. So, tough place to play. I thought Bryce did a really good job of managing the crowd noise. There were some times where it gave us issues, but it was really a more of a snap count issue than it was his doing. So, the center had a tough time here and a couple times, and we snapped the ball late and got some penalties. So, but all in all, I think there's a lot to learn. I'm hopeful that, our team can learn from this experience, learn how to improve, learn how to get better, kind of see, where you are personally as a player, where we are collectively as a team, what we need to do to get better individually and improve and play with more consistency and maintain intensity, as well as do the same thing as a team. So, there's a lot of good things for us to learn out there, but, we started to reel a little bit on defense. I think we got tired. In the second quarter. We played a lot of plays when we went 3 and out 3 times in a row. We either got to play more players or have more opportunities, but, we had a difficult time stopping the run. They had 258 yards rushing. I don't think we've had that for a long time. But between the quarterback runs, and I thought their quarterback did a really good job of completing some passes when they needed to. We only got 1 turnover in the game. So there's a lot of things that we need to do better, no doubt.
All right. Yeah, there it is, Kyle. I mean,
Let's
I love that. Well, look at that freeze shot you got there on
Holy,
poor coach.
holy cow. Look, the feed was what it was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're in the Zoom world. Was it the best Zoom? No, but Saban's message, I think, was clear following this big game against Florida Gators. And I think a real test for Alabama, clearly. And what Nick Saban said is, he talked about adversity, and, we'll put the timestamps of what he said inside the comment box of the Saban video. But when you kind of look at that game, kind of at a glance, I think the things that definitely stand out to me was Florida's ability to run the football against Alabama's defense, right? I think that's a big concern because 258 yards. And I think the one thing that's really scary to me is that Emory Jones, he's not the best quarterback in the SEC. He's not the best quarterback that Alabama's going to face. I think if you're Ole Miss, you're licking your chops because Matt Corral, I think, could be the best quarterback in the SEC, right? Or at least after Bryce. So when they went on that 99-yard drive and, Emory Jones didn't have to do much. And I know there was a couple, what was it, 1 or 2 pass interference calls. I mean, those things stand out because you can't do that down the road when you play a more efficient quarterback. The 258 yards really blows my mind. That hasn't happened to Alabama in a while. On the flip side, you kind of look at the positives. I thought Bryce Young, the guy does not make mistakes. He does not get rattled. And I think that's really important. I mean, there's going to be, times where Alabama plays on the road where it's difficult, but this was a great chance for these guys to get better. You look at the film, you see where things went wrong, you move forward, and you get ready for Southern Miss.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's kind of how I felt, and I wasn't surprised at all at what Nick Saban said. I told you before we even went on the air, I almost got it verbatim, and because I agree with him. You can coach off of this, and he's exactly right. And the one thing that I didn't mention was what he said, and I think it's the most important thing that he said, Kyle, is that Alabama lost its intensity. And they came out on fire, and they let Florida get back in the football game. Yeah. And what coach is going to do now is he's going to go and he's going to get all those guys together, and he's going to say, hey, look, if you let your foot off the gas, we could lose in a game like that. And if Florida had a better quarterback, maybe someone that could throw the football a little bit more, they probably would have beat Alabama today. I mean, let's be honest, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right when you look at, kind of the lineup with Florida. And look, I knew that Dan Mullen would, have a creative game plan. I thought, honestly, that Alabama would win by 2 touchdowns. And when the game got going and the crowd was out of it, I thought that Alabama would have them on the ropes. But credit Dan Mullen for, keeping his guys focused and coming up with a way to stick in this game. 31-29, Alabama survives in the swamp. Now 3-0 in the season. It's there's a lot of things that you can point to, and I see it everywhere. And I want to get your take on this as well, Mick. I know you're the host, but maybe switch hats for a second here. But when the defense does bad, it's fire Pete Golding, and when the defense does good, it's great job Nick Saban. What's kind of your take on that? And if you're listening inside the comment box, is the defensive flaws on Golding specifically, even the pass interference calls on Josh Jobe or the missed tackles, or is that on Pete Golding, and why? I want to hear your take inside the comment box. Or is it, or is it on Saban? Is it Saban's defense? I want to hear from you and kind of what's your take on that, Mick.
Well, I mean, look, I don't put it on Pete Golding personally. I just don't. I mean, like I think that when college football changed the way that they call games, you're not allowed to tackle the way that you used to. They wanted to open it up, and it's an offensive game. The whole name of the game is just trying to slow down the opposition. And even in today's game, they did that. I mean, we got to remember that Florida scored 29 points. But Alabama scored 31, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to go back to a guy that I got to know in baseball named Greg Maddux, right? You know who I'm talking about, the pitcher, Hall of Fame pitcher for the Braves, and he talked to me about playing the game. He said, "Look, if your team scores 7, then you give up 6 and you win." Right. And that's how he won 300 in some games. And he said, but if your team scores 1, then you can't give up any, and he was the master at doing that as a pitcher. And Alabama's Nick Saban is great at that as a head coach. the bottom line is that they didn't need to give. If they would have given up 31 points, 32 points, it may be different right now. But they gave up 29. I just don't know that getting rid of Pete Golding is the answer. I just think that if the offense doesn't go 3 and out in the second quarter that fast, the defense isn't gassed. And the way that you prevent that is by sustained drives. And it's so important in the way that this era of football is refereed, right? That you have to do that, because once you kind of get behind, Dennis Franchione used to talk about being a play behind when he was head coach at Alabama. And I think that, like, I remember him telling us that, and I believe that. I think he's exactly right. I think sometimes in football, you're a play ahead. No matter what you do, you're one play ahead of what these guys are going to try to counter with, right? But when you're one play behind, it seems like no matter what you do, they have the answer for it. And that's how it felt for Alabama's defense in the second half, except the play that they stopped on the 2-point conversion. It was like they're doing the read option, that's working. They're doing the old school option when they're rolling out, that's working. They're throwing the football and the guy's wide open, right? And it all started with the 3 and outs when Alabama was up 21-3 and had a chance to absolutely embarrass Florida. And I think if Alabama would have scored one more touchdown, they would have went up, say, 28-3. I really feel like at that point that things would have. I think Florida probably would have quit, but they hung in there, and so I'm not putting it on Pete Golding. That's
here's Nick Saban's press conference, and again, you can watch it on our YouTube channel. But here's Nick Saban talking about his biggest concern. I'm going to step away. I'll be right back.
What concerned me most was that we could not sustain our intensity, especially on defense. We had a lot of mental errors, and they did a good job. They did a really good job, had a good plan. And, when you're playing the option and, everybody's got to be disciplined. Somebody's got the quarterback, somebody's got the pitch. And because we weren't doing that correctly, I think we were afraid to do a lot of other things that we had planned in the game. But we didn't get off the field on third down either. We had several opportunities, especially in the fourth quarter, to get off the field on third down where we created long yardage situations. When they went 99 yards for a touchdown, we got them backed up on the 1 yard line. We got them third down. We got to get off the field. Another situation where it was 3rd and 18, they complete a pass for 16 yards, go for it on 4th down and convert. So got to get off the field on third down. So all in all, it was just our execution on defense and the fact that we didn't get off the field on third down.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's exactly what I saw too. Were you expecting him to come out like and screaming? He screams when they win big.
No, I like we were talking about, at the beginning of the show. I expected this. I mean, I think that this team needed I don't even know if I call it a reality check. I mean, look, you go to the Swamp, it's going to be tough. I think that you look at some of the positives, and look, this is an immoral type of victory. Look, I don't believe in that sort of stuff. I think when you kind of look at the statistics of the game, the statistics tell a story. Let's take off that banner there, Chris, and kind of hone in on a couple stats that stand out to me. And let's start with the offensive side. We've talked about Bryce Young and the play of him, 22 of 35. There was times I felt Bryce Young was off, right? I mean, his RPOs, I don't think were as effective as we've seen past Alabama quarterbacks with the RPO games. With that said, he doesn't make mistakes. What does he have? 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions through 3 games as a first-year starter. That's pretty incredible. I look to Brian Robinson. The prop bet for him was to run for over 68 yards. Look at that. Runs for 75 off 14 attempts. Vegas never misses, right? Jace McClellan, I told you, if you watch College Sportsbook, that he's a guy who catches the football very well out of the backfield. Well, 4 receptions, 41 yards with a touchdown. John Mechie, where's John Mechie at? I think that that's kind of something that we should dive into a little bit. I mean, 6 receptions, but only 42 yards. So where are the big-time playmakers? Jamison Williams, 4 receptions, 61 yards. I think Florida did a good job covering. They were very physical with the Alabama receivers. Slade Bolden, he dropped a touchdown. That's the second touchdown that he has dropped for Bryce Young, right? And when you you're looking for dependable targets. Now, I also told everybody about Billingsley that I haven't stopped believing in him. I thought it was a beautiful throw by Bryce. I loved how he tapped his foot onside the pylon for a touchdown. So I think he was only targeted one time in the game, one target, one touchdown, not very bad statistics. When you look at the defensive stats that kind of stand out to me, how about the play of Drew Sanders? I mean, Drew Sanders, there you go, Chris. Sorry, I'm going fast. I'm going a million miles an hour here. Let's go over to Drew Sanders. If you could spotlight the Alabama defense and what you look for in an outside linebacker play. I thought it was good in spots, right? Drew Sanders stepping in for Chris Allen, and Alabama's looking for an outside linebacker that can step up. I thought that Drew Sanders was that guy. 6 tackles, 4 of those were solo tackles. But I think overall, though, the secondary, specifically with the corners, I wasn't impressed with, the pass interference and kind of the sloppiness of that. Jalen Armour-Davis allowed a reception as well. Look, this team isn't perfect. We're not asking them to be perfect, but Alabama fans, they are, everything is perfect about this team. 17 wins in a row. You can critique a lot. 31-29. It's a gutty win in Gainesville, Alabama, now 3-0.
Let me ask you this, Kyle. Were you surprised? Do you get surprised when Bryce Young doesn't run? Because he's a dual threat guy, and it seemed like there were opportunities there for him to run. And then the time that he did run, he dives in head first instead of sliding feet first, where if you slide feet first, they can't hit you.
Yeah.
So like I those were two things to me where I'm like, okay, at some point, and I know that they can't afford him to get hurt, right? So, I mean, I get that part of it, but at the same time, there were one of those times he rolled out, he could have walked it into the end zone instead of throwing it, and he threw it away.
Threw it, and it tipped up, and then
yes,
just he's like, and some people are lucky in life, and some people aren't. Bryce Young is lucky. I mean, how many interceptions could he have thrown? Maybe I think 2, and Florida dropped him. And then that one time he went into the end zone, he should have just ran. Everyone's like, run, run, run. He throws it, tips up. Cameron Latou catches it, but he was out of bounds. I wanted to play this soundbite. I'll go back to Saban. I can control that from here, Chris. This is Saban talking about the ending of the game and kind of the clock situation. If you guys were watching that, it was strange, right? Remember the clock was running down during the 2 points. So here's Nick Saban talking about the clock situation.
Ball there late in the game. There's the issue with the game clock in the stadium. How much did that complicate what you're trying to do in terms of clock management?
Well, it certainly didn't help any. It's nice to know if the clock's running or the clock's not running. We had to tell the quarterback when the clock was running. So we were milking the clock, but the clock really wasn't running. So we were going off the 40-second clock. It did complicate it a bit, but I think our players did a pretty good job of managing it. The one time we got it down to 1, and I was running to call a timeout, but we got the play off. So we just need do a little better job in those situations. We could get out of the huddle at 15, be ready to run the play at 8. And snap it at 3 or 4.
All right, look, the Bryce Young interview, I'm going to add that right now. It was a minute long. I'll probably upload it to the YouTube channel, but you can watch it right here real quick. It's short and sweet. It's only a minute 19. Here's Bryce Young following Alabama's victory over Florida.
Go ahead, Joseph. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Bryce, what'd you think of the atmosphere?
Yeah, crazy atmosphere. Those fans were really loud. We knew it was going to be a hostile environment coming in, and it lived up to it for sure. Fans were super loud. There was a lot we had to deal with. This is a really, really good team. We just played, and again, in a really, really tough environment. So, it was tough, but I'm super proud of us as a unit for overcoming it.
Last question, Dennis.
My question was answered. Thank you.
Last question, Nick Kelly.
Bryce, could you walk us through that touchdown from B-Rob at the end of the game and just why he's someone you guys trust in big moments carrying the ball?
Yeah, B-Rob has proved it, countless times, not just in games, but in practice and in the off season. We have complete trust in our O-line to punch stuff in and to get the yards we need to. I have complete trust in all my backs, really. But it's really a product of the work that not everyone sees on Saturdays, what people do, in the off season, during the week. That's kind of how you build the trust from players and coaches.
All right, that was Bryce Young following the game. Hey, Mick, let's kind of kick it back and forth, kind of what we learned, our major points, and then kind of dip out here at the top of the hour.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell you this. I learned that this Alabama football team has continued what Nick Saban has done really since he became head coach, and they find a way to win. This was a game that they easily could have lost. And that was a big sense of relief when I saw him stop Florida on 4th down. But I got to be honest, Kyle, I never thought they were going to lose. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's because I've kind of been conditioned to know that what Nick Saban has been able to do as head coach is instill this belief that they're going to make one more play than you. This was a tough environment to play in, but I'll tell you what, this was the type of game that you build off of, because he's going to be able to go in there now and say to these guys, hey, guess what? You can lose. Go look at who Miami is. Go look at Mercer. Yeah. You know, this is a building block game right here. It was a tough one. And Dan Mullen can coach. I was saying that this week. I think the guy is a really good coach.
Yeah, I think kind of my final take on this game is Alabama is certainly beatable. I think that, but who's going to beat them? You know, raise your hand if you're out there that you can put a complete game together. I mean, Alabama goes down to the Swamp and they win. I know it was 14 points or whatever, but you know, they're until, you know, they've won 17 games in a row. So when you watch the rest of college football tonight, and I know you're watching, can someone provide an Auburn Penn State? Do we have an Auburn Penn State score?
Has that started yet?
Has it even started?
I'll put it on right now. Yeah, it has.
It's 3-0 Auburn. Okay. You have Ohio State. Give me some score. Trey's up in the back. He's recording Dan Mullen. I'll
pull him up. Hold on. I'll tell you this, Kyle. Just a side note. If you watched my show last night, I'm on fire right now, by the way, with my picks. I'm looking for a 4-0 weekend.
Thanks,
all right, you ready? All right, Clemson is right now stumbling to a 7-3 win over Georgia Tech. If that gives you an idea where they are. All right, exactly. Georgia's up 14-6 on South Carolina. That's through one quarter. It's 3-0 Auburn. You mentioned that at Penn State. 9:33 going the first, just underway. How about this one? Mississippi State lost to Memphis today by 2. And I think it was 31-29, the final, ironically. And if it wasn't, it was pretty close to that, 30-28. I'll do the SEC because I know that's what everybody wants to.
Well, let me just say this. Look, Texas A&M, I don't believe in them. Ohio State, don't believe in them. Oregon, Pac-12, don't really believe in them. Who else is it? Is it Oklahoma? They just barely beat Nebraska. We saw them against Tulane. I don't believe in them. So Georgia. I think Georgia has the defense. Still waiting for JT Daniels to do something. Hold on. I want at least somebody to ask some sort of some controversy. Why is Kyle confident? Kyle, you have not seen Anthony Richard play. Bama was lucky to win. They escaped the W. Hey, you know what? Elena's dad, thank you so much. I'm sure you're a great father, but look, Anthony Richardson, he didn't play. So that's like hypothetical. Could he have won the game? Probably. I wish he would have played. If he's doing backflips and circus jumps before the game, he should have played. You got to put the best players inside to put the game, but the fact remains he didn't play. So until he plays the game and until he beats Alabama, you can kind of move on inside the comment box. But I think that, if you really want to beat Alabama, who's it going to be? Seriously, I think, look, I'm telling you, I believe that this team is beatable, but I don't think there's a team out there that can beat them. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I think the rest of the college football, they're down. CJ Stroud, not impressive. DJ Ungulele, not impressive.
Right.
Rattler, not impressive. CJ Virgil of Oregon, he's good, but come on, Oregon for real. So I think when you look at everything in Georgia, they're always just a game away from losing. And what's the score right now with Georgia?
They're up 14-6.
See what I'm saying? Over South Carolina. South Carolina had to rally back to beat East Carolina, right?
Yeah, I think Georgia's going to drum them. LSU 14-0 over Central Michigan. You got Tulane and Ole Miss, which I can't wait to watch this one. It's delayed right now because of weather. Texas A&M 34-0 over New Mexico. I know that kind of hits you, Kyle, a little bit, being from New Mexico. Kentucky barely got by Chattanooga today, 28-23. How about that one? Missouri 59, South East Missouri State 28. Tennessee pummeled
Sean.
Tennessee Tech 56-0. And then Arkansas. Hey, maybe Arkansas is for real. I mean, they destroyed Georgia Southern today, 45-10. And then it was 31-29, Memphis over Mississippi State. So that's the SEC slate. Do you want me to check top 25?
I guess. Check the heartbeat of the college football world. I don't know. Is Florida? How good is Florida? They almost beat it. They went toe to toe with Alabama last year. Like Elena's dad saying, he's the only one here, saying, trying to challenge that Florida might be, one of the contenders. Maybe they should. I don't know. Chris, our producer behind the screen, said, does Florida go up in the rankings after going, toe to toe with Alabama today? I don't know.
Yeah, they could. Look, I watched the Cincinnati-Indiana game. And again, for those of you that were with us last night, you'll know that was my lock of the week, right? And you might want to write my locks of the week down because I'm on fire right now, Kyle. But I watched Cincinnati today beat Indiana. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is that Indiana is a better team than I thought. But this is a year where maybe a team like Cincinnati slides in. They're ranked 8th. They have a decently tough schedule. Nothing like what we're used to in the SEC, right? But at the same time, I know what you're saying. You're like, who's coming out to take on Alabama?
Yeah.
Is it Georgia? Is it Clemson? Is it who? Right? And I'm saying that there's some UCLA's been pretty good. We'll see what they got, but I like what Chip Kelly has as far as veterans and running his system. And you get to forget, because he was so bad the last 3 years, and I got reminded watching them play that he's one of the best coaches in the country, right? So maybe it's them. I don't know. I'm not really enamored right now with the Pac-10, but the Pac-12 is interesting this year just because they had all those opt-outs last year.
People just keeps calling it Pac-10. You're like Saban. They don't even take them serious. There's 12 teams over there. Hey, I can agree on with Elena's daddy saying Clemson is terrible. They shouldn't even be ranked. Trey from South Carolina. Those are like fighting words for him. Hey, you know what? I want everyone to rewind this game. Come back with it on Sunday night. Mick will be back. We'll take some calls on this game. Before we bounce out, Raider fan wants to know how many rushing yards do we have? Chris, how many? I think it was 91 yards total, something like that, if I remind you. So, Mick, why don't we wrap it up? You guys enjoy Georgia. You guys enjoy Auburn and Penn State. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to come back tomorrow night on Sunday. Take your calls and comments. I'll join Mick for, the first, 20, 30 minutes. We'll see how the calls go. And then, we'll be back and hit it hard on Monday. Stick around because Monday at 12 p.m., okay, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., starting every single week, we got the Jay Barker Show will be live streamed on BamaInsider.com from 12 to 2 right here on BamaInsider.com. So they're live. The Jay Barker Show coming on BamaInsider.com every single day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 2. So we got some great stuff coming your way right here on BamaInsider.com. Mick, close it out, and we'll catch up with our fam Sunday night.
Yeah, look, guys, what I want to say is just how much we appreciate hanging out with you. This is like kind of our little thing that we got going on, and it's gotten bigger and bigger because of you. Like and subscribe, Hang out with us tomorrow night. We're going to take your calls, and I know that there's going to be a lot said about tonight's game, but it's like Kyle mentioned, go back and kind of sleep on this one, go back and watch it over again, and let's get back together and kind of talk about what's going to happen moving forward. Good news is that Alabama's still number 1, and they're 3-0 now, going on the road to Swamp. And they missed an opportunity to destroy Florida. But it might be the best thing that happened to this team this year was having a game like this and something that they can build on. I want to thank Chris back in our studio, and